Kunjabihari Damadava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Radha Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Shri Shri Kavantai Pushati ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, a reading from the Nectar of Devotion. This is chapter 16, entitled Spontaneous Devotion Further Described. So this subsection is called Eligibility for Spontaneous Devotional Service. Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Reinis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain the perfection of these devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulatory principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees such as Nanda or Yashoda, and they are trying to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga. We must always remember, however, that such an eagerness to follow in the footsteps of descendants of Raja, Vrindavan, is not possible unless one is free from material contamination. In following the regulatory principles of devotional service, there is a stage called anartha nivritti, which means that the disappearance of all material contamination. Sometimes someone is found imitating such devotional love, but factually he is not free from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that a so-called devotee proclaims himself as follower of Nanda, Yashoda, or the gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be found no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. The Nectar of Devotion Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Yasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayesha Padrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna devotees. We keep reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter 13, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person. And today we're reading text number 6. Nabhinanded Dhruvam Mrityum Nabhinade Dhruvam Mrityum Adruvan Vasya Jivitam Adruvam Vasya Jivitam Kalan Paran Pratiksheta Kalam Param Pratiksheta Bhutanan Prapavapyayam Bhutanam Prapavapyayam Nabhinade Dhruvam Nityum Adruvam Vasa Jivitam Kalanparan Pratiksheta Bhutanan Prapavapyayam Nabhinade Dhruvam Nityum Adruvam Vasa Jivitam Kalanparan Pratiksheta Bhutanan Prabhavapyayam Nabhinande Dhruvam Nityum Adruvam Vasa Jivitam Kalanparam Pratiksheta Bhutanan Prabhavapyayam Nabhanide Dhruvam Nityum Dhruvam Vasa Jivitam Kalanparam Pratiksheta Bhutanan Prabhavapyayam. Word for word. Na, not. Abhinandet, one should praise. Dhruvam, sure. Mityum, death. Adruvam, not sure. Va, either. Asya, of this body. Jivitam, the duration of life. Kalam, eternal time. Param, supreme. Pratiksheta, one must observe. Bhutanam, of the living entities. Prabhava, manifestation. Apyayam, disappearance. In translation, since the material body is sure to be vanquished and the duration of one's life is not fixed, neither death nor life is to be praised. Rather, one should observe the eternal time factor in which the living entity manifests himself and disappears. Purport by His Grace, by the Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The living entities in the material world, not only at the present but also in the past, have been involved in trying to solve the problem of birth and death. Some stress that and point to the illusionary existence of everything material, whereas others stress life, trying to preserve it perpetually and enjoy it to the best of their ability. Both of them are fools and rascals. It is advised that one observe the internal time factor, which is the cause of the material body's appearance and disappearance, and that one observe the living entity's entanglement in this time factor. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur therefore sings in his Gita Vali, Nadi karma pale padi pavarana jale taribare na deki upaya. One should observe the activities of eternal time, which is the cause of birth and death. Before the creation of the present millennium, the living entities were under the influence of the time factor, and within the time factor, the material world comes into existence and is again annihilated. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Being under the control of the time factor, the living entities appear and die, life after life. This time factor is the impersonal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gives the living entities conditioned by material nature a chance to emerge from this nature by surrendering to Him. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjanakshalaakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Sthapita Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Tati Swam Padantikam Vanjakalpadrubhashta Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pashtatate Shidarine. Hare Krishna. First of all, I want to say I'm very thankful to be here and get this opportunity to try to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. I would definitely prefer someone senior come sit and talk about this, but I hope I can give some insights on Srimad Bhagavatam and talk about Srimad Bhagavatam in front of Prabhupada and deities. So and always seeking for devotees' blessings to I can share more. I can get into more depth of what Srimad Bhagavatam actually is trying to teach us. And so far, Narada Muni has described the social system of one ashrama dharma, and as we found out from the previous chapter, one ashrama dharma is basically meant for bringing the society to the level of human beings, and we can see that currently we don't have this one ashrama system in place, and accordingly we don't have a human civilization, right? So I like oftentimes reading the purpose of Prabhupada that humans in these days human society is like a royal order of animals, which is quite funny. So because currently we see a little bit of an ashram dharma in our society, but it's not properly established. From my own experience, seeing that like we are very confused these days because we don't have this human civilization in place. People are kind of maybe a little bit confused, like what's really the real purpose of the human life. And when ashram dharma really makes things more clear. It can show us that there's different phases in life that we can go through, and every stage is meant for the spiritual development. How can we spiritually progress? But since we don't have this system in place, we think that maybe life is meant for the sense gratification or some other reason, or getting the prestige, getting followers, fame, and things like that. But these are material things. They don't last. So another Nuni explains in the previous chapter. He explains different standards for Varnashram Dharma for different persons. For Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, for wife, husband. And explains what is the best sort of like set of actions one should be doing in order to get out of this perpetual birth and death. And So this system is meant for so we can progressively, advance on the spiritual path. And a lot of things, um, as they have been mentioned so far, are not quite. We cannot quite apply them directly, because it all depends on the time and circumstances. So we can see from previous verses in the text too. Um, it is said that a person in Renan's order of life may try to avoid even a dress to cover himself. So we can see that we don't have sannyasis who are walking naked. It's not practical these days. So so up to the text 6, we have seen different these Vedic cultural principles, but not all of them can be, like as I said, practically applied. That's why we need a founder acharya as a Srila Prabhupada, so he can come and explain these Vedic principles in a current context. Right? So how can we apply this knowledge given here in a modern world? So because someone might ask, like, how does these things apply to me? And you know, these can be kind of far out things that we can't really apply in these days. So that's why Prabhupada came and trying to, bring it down to the, all level. So how can we perform these things? And the same goes for because initially the standard for chanting is 64 rounds, but because Sri Prabhupada saw or a conditioned state, he brought it down minimum to the 16 rounds. And often I hear Prabhupada saying also that they don't even chant those 16 rounds as well. So um, yeah, so we have to understand that we live in a we live in very difficult and different times compared to what is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so only when we start to apply these principles, things start to make more sense. Because otherwise, we have this people maybe have this misconception that the material world owes us something. It owes us a nice family, nice conditions of life. Nice car, nice house. But because we don't have understanding of concepts as karma and reincarnation, we oftentimes I hear people asking, why bad things happen with good people, right? But the truth is that, like, we have a lot of baggage, we have a lot of karma that we bringing us with us, right? So the answer would be that there are no really good people in this world, right? So there's always a lot of background to be done. We are not quite aware of. Um, so mm, yeah, so by reading these verses, we should understand that we are against the time factor. Especially it brings up to the today's verse, text 6, and Narumuni is instructing that we should not be bewildered by the constant change of happiness and distress, so which is due to the time factor, um, and we should be also understand because we are not satisfied. We always dwelling in a either in a future, for especially for the young people, and they think when I'm just gonna grow up, then everything's gonna be much nicer. So because if they look at the parents or adults and see, like, they have much freedom, but then when people reaching the end of life, getting older, they start to think about, how do I revive my my child inner child again, so we trying to lament with these things that we kind of like don't have either in the future or past. And but we should instead what Narumuni is instructing us that these things as death or life is and our lifespan is not fixed, so we shouldn't be putting too much emphasis on the disappearance of the body or appearance of the body. We rather should try to observe what is this internal time factor. And what I found very interesting is that this is why Narumuni is instructing this Varnashrama Dharma, the social order, so we can actually cope with this time factor. Because if we try to do, in the future and past what we don't have, we never really have this sort of like plan like where we actually going, and this one ashram system is kind of like meant for actually making a sort of like more of a meaning of like where we're going, and what should our duty be. And yeah, so as I was preparing, I found that the same as death and birth, the bond. There's also these concepts of bondage and liberation. So when someone is spiritually situated in a spiritual constitutional position, there's no really meaning of the bondage or liberation. So, and the analogy for this is the same as like there's no meaning of a day and night if we are on the sun planet, right? There's always light. There's always it's always bright. So in the same way, when it's one person he fully understands, what's my constitutional position, who I am, there's no really a question of bondage and liberation. So as we can see, everything really depends on the more standpoint, on how we look at the things. Because so in the same way, Prabhupada is giving these examples, two extremes. So there are some people who very much stress the death. They talk about how material world is all about destruction, how bad it is. It's all it's all just bringing to the death and destruction. And then others who try to go to other extremes, saying that we have this short amount of time, let's just try to enjoy it as much as we can, right? And in the Prabhupada ecstasy says like they both are fools and rascals. Yeah, so so both of these type of people on these extremes, they don't understand this concept that bondage and liberation really has no meaning if someone already has understood who you truly are and what is his constitutional position. So these things only make sense when we forget Krishna, right? That we start to think in the concept of bondage and liberation, and that and birth. I found coming back to the time factor, from third canto, Orkapila mentioned this analogy of clouds. It says that when we see clouds in the sky, they seem to be like hanging there, but